Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've touched on this before, this kind of cool idea that time isn't just a straight line, but maybe more like a coiled spring. Past down below, future up top, and us sort of here on the present coil.
Yeah, I remember that. It's a really sticky image, isn't it?
It really is. And, well, it got me thinking, and I bet you've thought about this too. Could we actually move along that spring, but like not just forward?
You mean jump between the coils?
Exactly. Could we shift up or down, move forward or backward in time that way?
Mm.
So that's really what we want to get into in this deep dive. We're going to be pulling ideas from a discussion about something called a spring-based time theory.
It's a super interesting question. And what I like about this spring-based time theory is how it makes something really abstract feel, well, almost graspable.
Right.
But before we even talk about jumping coils, the theory asks us to think about how time even behaves within this spring structure.
Okay.
And that's where the concepts of time compression and expansion really come into play. They're key.
Okay, right. Compression and expansion. So that spring analogy we keep mentioning, I guess that helps here.
It really does. Think about, physically squeezing a spring.
All the loops bunch up?
Exactly. They get tight. And then if you stretch it...
They spread way out.
Perfect. That's basically how this theory suggests we might experience time's flow.
So time compression is the tight coils.
Yeah, the tightly packed ones. Think about when you're totally lost in something you love, or maybe a whole bunch of exciting things happen really fast.
And time just vanishes.
Right. It feels like it disappears. So in the spring model, it's like you're moving through a tighter bit of the coil.
Yeah.
You cover more time ground in what feels like less duration.
Oh, I definitely get that. Like, you're reading a great book or deep in a conversation, and suddenly it's like hours later.
That's it exactly. That's everyday time compression.
And the flip side, time expansion. Those moments that just drop.
Precisely. Like, maybe you're really anxious about something or waiting for big news. Every second feels amplified.
Yeah, totally.
So in the spring analogy, that's like being on a really stretched out part of the coil.
Okay.
Each moment feels longer and you feel like you're just crawling through time. And the interesting thing is, these aren't just feelings. They line up with the idea of the time spring itself being tighter or looser.
Okay, so if these coils can bunch up or stretch out, making time feel faster or slower, the big question, the really exciting one, is how could we, theoretically, move between them? Jump from this coil to that one, get to a different time.
Right. And this is where the theory puts forward some really mind-bending ideas.
Okay, I'm ready.
It suggests that certain specific forces or phenomena might be the key, the way to actually move between these time coils.
Like what?
The theory mentions things like extremely high speeds, getting close to the speed of light.
Oh.
Also, the super strong gravity you'd find near things like black holes.
Right, that sounds familiar.
And also, and this is interesting, high frequency energy, like electromagnetic resonance.
Okay, wait. High speeds, intense gravity. That definitely rings a bell.
And
Einstein, right?
Exactly. Einstein's theories of special and general relativity, they're the bedrock for understanding that time isn't constant.
It depends on how fast you're moving and gravity.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So that gives real scientific weight to the idea that time can be messed with, essentially.
But the high-frequency energy idea, using that to jump time coils, that feels newer, maybe more speculative.
It is more speculative, yeah. But the thinking behind it, perhaps, is that certain frequencies might interact with the actual structure of space-time itself.
The sort of fabric the spring exists in.
Kinda, yeah. And maybe hitting the right frequency could allow a shift from one coil to another, like finding the right key for a specific lock.
Huh. Like you need the right vibration to resonate with a different time layer.
That's one way to think about it. And the theory uses a pretty fun analogy to help picture this.
Oh, yeah.
It compares it to Mario, the video game character.
Yeah.
You know how he uses a springboard sometimes to jump up to a higher platform?
Yeah, totally.
Boing.
Well, the theory suggests that maybe these powerful forces or this specific energy could act like that springboard.
But for time.
Exactly. Giving you the boost needed to jump to a different temporal level, a different coil on that time spring.
Okay, so this isn't just complete sci-fi fantasy then. You mentioned Einstein. We know extreme conditions affect time.
Right.
But you also brought up electromagnetic resonance and something about NASA and Schumann resonance. What's that connection?
Well, what's really fascinating is that even within current science, we see these hints that time isn't maybe as straightforward as we think.
Uh-huh.
Relativity is the big one, showing time is flexible. But then you look at, say, quantum physics, things like entanglement.
Where particles are linked instantly, no matter how far apart.
Exactly. It hints at a kind of nonlinearity in how reality works, which some think could tie into time itself.
Okay.
And the Schumann resonances, these are natural electromagnetic frequencies, sort of like the Earth's heartbeat.
Right. Studies have shown correlations between these frequencies and human brainwaves, and even our subjective feeling of how time is passing.
Wow, really? So external frequencies might link to our internal clock somehow.
It suggests a possible connection, yeah. It's not fully understood, but it points towards this link between frequencies and our experience of time.
So you've got relativity, quantum weirdness, these natural frequencies.
Yeah.
It does seem like science is pointing towards time being, well, bendable.
Malleable, yeah.
Yeah.
Stretchable, compressible.
And maybe, just maybe, jumpable.
Yeah.
Like the theory suggests.
That's the possibility the spring-based time theory really dives into. And to help us really wrap our heads around it, the theory paints this really vivid picture, almost like a little story.
Oh, cool. Yeah, let's hear that. Paint the picture.
Okay, so imagine you're in some kind of special pod, right? An enclosure. And all around it, you can see these glowing coils of energy.
Representing the time spring.
Exactly. The past, present, future coils, all luminous. Inside the pod, there's a control panel. And you can use it to tune a very specific frequency.
Like dialing a radio.
Sort of. And as you start tuning this frequency, you see the time spring outside begin to compress.
What?
The glowing coils pull closer, tighter together.
Wow, okay. I'm picturing these bright rings of time just squeezing in.
Exactly. And then you reach a certain point, a critical frequency, and the coil your pod is currently on. It lines up perfectly with a coil further up the spring, a future coil.
Okay. And then what happens? Do you feel a jolt?
Well, that's the thing. The theory suggests there's no feeling of movement through space. You're not accelerating or anything. It's more like the time around the pod has been changed.
Just flow of time itself.
Right. And then maybe just a subtle shift, a quiet hum perhaps, and suddenly you're on that future coil.
Just like that.
Just like that. Moments, hours, maybe years ahead. Not by traveling through space, but just by manipulating that frequency and changing your position on the time spring.
Wow. That's a really powerful image. Forget warp drives. This is about actually tuning time itself in one spot. It's way out there, theoretically, but
yeah.
Cool.
It is cool. And it brings us right back to where we started, you know? Can we move up or down this time spring?
Yeah.
And while, building a time-tuning pod like that is probably way off, maybe centuries away, if ever, it makes you wonder about our own experiences. Maybe they give us little clues, fleeting hints about time not being strictly linear.
What do you mean, like dreams?
Yeah, like really vivid dreams that feel real. Or that weird feeling of deja vu where you're sure you've lived this exact moment before.
Oh, yeah. Definitely felt that.
Or even just how strong emotions can completely mess with your perception of time, making it fly or crawl.
It's almost like deep down, maybe our minds can already sort of sense or even touch these other time coils sometimes, subconsciously.
That's a really interesting way to put it. It's possible. And, as science keeps exploring how things like frequency, gravity, light affect time, we keep finding more evidence that time is just stranger and more flexible than we usually think.
Definitely more complex than just a clock ticking on the wall.
For sure. Which leads to a final thought, something for you listening to maybe chew on.
Okay.
Think about your own experiences with time. When have you felt it really speed up or slow down dramatically? Have you ever had moments that felt out of sync? And how might those feelings, those personal moments, connect back to this whole idea of a coiled time spring and maybe even moving between the loops?